Russia has successfully used infantry to advance on the front lines, but it critically lacks tanks to effectively use them in combat. As Forbes analyst David Axe writes, this demonstrates the perilous state of the Russian military in the fourth year of the large-scale war in Ukraine. As the analyst explains, there are so many Ukrainian drones on the front lines at all times that Russian armored vehicles cannot emerge from cover without becoming targets. And where the Russians do regain ground, they do so mostly on foot and suffer staggering casualties, writes Axe. At the same time, the fact that the Russians can no longer safely deploy tanks does not mean that they cannot continue to advance towards Pokrovsk. It means that they will most likely continue to advance on foot and pay in blood for every meter captured, the analyst writes. There are obvious cracks in the Kremlin's personnel system. It is no wonder that Russia has eagerly taken advantage of military reinforcements from the DPRK. For now, however, Russia has plenty of troops and the willingness to trade their lives for small but steady gains in eastern Ukraine. What the Kremlin doesn't have is a lot of tanks or any means of using them effectively on a drone-buzzed battlefield. Axe notes, according to the New York Times, 5 months after Ukrainian forces swept across the border in the first ground invasion of Russia since World War II, the two armies are engaged in some of the most furious clashes of the war there, fighting over land and leverage in the conflict. The intensity of the battles recalls some of the worst sieges of eastern Ukraine over the past 3 years, including its towns like Bakhmut and Avdiivka, names that now evoke memories of mass slaughter for soldiers on both sides. The fighting in the Kursk region of Russia has taken on a layer of significance for the territory's potential to play a role in any ceasefire negotiations. Facing the prospect of an unpredictable new US president who has vowed to end the war swiftly without clarifying the terms, Ukraine hopes to use Russian territory as a bargaining chip. Russia, relying on North Korean reinforcements, hopes to knock that territory out of Ukraine's grasp. Here, the Russians need to take this territory at any cost and are pouring all their strength into it while we are giving everything we have to hold it, said Sergeant Alexander, 46, a leader of a Ukrainian infantry platoon. We're holding on, destroying, destroying, destroying. So much that it's hard to even comprehend. He and other soldiers, asking to be identified by only a first name or call sign in accordance with military protocol, said that attacking North Korean infantry had made the battle far more ferocious than before. The situation worsened significantly when the North Koreans started arriving, said Junior Sergeant Oleksiy, 30, a platoon leader. They are pressuring our fronts en masse, finding weak points and breaking through them.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer visited a Kiev hospital on Thursday specializing in treating burns. After a private tour of the intensive care unit, he met 2 patients in a rehabilitation ward that receive support from the British Red Cross. A middle-aged soldier, Dima, told the Prime Minister that he was wounded on the front line in July. With red burn scars running up his left arm and shoulder and across his scalp, he sat as a medic slowly manipulated his hand to help improve movement. After hearing his story, the Prime Minister thanked him. A second patient getting similar treatment was Petro, a civilian from Kyiv with burns across both hands and arms. After Starmer introduced himself by name, he asked, "Prime Minister of Britain, right?" Before warning Starmer that, if Ukraine falls, so does Europe. According to Associated Press, Starmer said the injuries he saw at the hospital were a grim reminder of the heavy price that Ukraine is paying. British Red Cross Country Director Simon Jones said the organization has helped the hospital upgrade its facilities and get up-to-date supplies and equipment. Medics from Britain's National Health Service also visit on 6 to 8 week secondments to share expertise.
Визначні контрактури, вони ці обмеження йому It's very important that we ensure that Ukraine is in the strongest possible position. That's something I've been arguing for since I've been Prime Minister. This is my 7th meeting with President Zelenski. I'm here at the burns unit of one of the Kiev hospitals, which is a grim reminder of the heavy price that Ukraine is paying here. So we must put in the necessary support. So that's what I'm discussing with President Zelenski today. We must never let up on that, and we've been leading the way. At the same time, we're signing a 100-year partnership between UK and Ukraine. This is a real statement of our intent for the long term in relation to our commitment to Ukraine. So I'm here for both of those purposes, but the main one is to make sure that Ukraine is in the strongest possible position during 2025.
Because if Ukraine falls, there won't be Europe.
I completely agree, and it's so important that we must
Це дуже важливо.
and we will stand with Ukraine for as long as is possible. That's why I'm here.
Процес заживлення тканини досить довгий, може тривати після опіків 1 на амплітуда.
Which means you need to work really intensely to prevent all
It has been, and one of the consequences of this conflict has been to draw NATO more strongly together. It's bigger and stronger than it has been, and we must stand behind Ukraine for as long as it takes. But when we say Ukraine must be in the strongest possible position, that can't be just words. And that's why I've had such intense discussions with President Zelenski now over the months that I've been Prime Minister, and will again here in Ukraine, because that is very, very important as we go into 2025. We're now a long way into this conflict. We mustn't let up.
And our next step of this pension is for him to overcome
Що буде сприяти його вже відновленню в активному житті.
and that will help him get back to his normal life.
Що буде сприяти його вже відновленню в активному житті.
And that will help